Hey y'all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and today I'm joined by Squeaks.
Flint and Squeaks. I was here for that. I thought I was doing the intro earlier.
Nice. And then we also have Thomas.
What's up, everybody?
We have a lot to talk about today. Yeah, we got The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1. We're going to be talking about that. South by Midnight from Squeaks. We got some quickies to go over. Harry Potter casting, Marvel Rivals Season 2. And we're going to get you ready for that Andor, that new season of Andor over here. But let's start off with our question of the week. You can pair any two characters from different universes for a buddy cop movie. Who's your duo? I'll start us off. What you guys think? This is going to be so stupid, Sylvester Stallone duo, Judge Dredd and Demolition Man.
Yeah.
Two full 80s action guys, futuristic stuff. You got the shells for wiping your butt, and you got the big ass shoulder pads. Give me that. Oh man, that's a classic.
Oh, that'd be so good. Okay, I want to throw in the Last Action Star or whatever that movie
Last
was.
Action Hero. Yeah, with Arnold. Yeah,
Last Action.
That'd be great.
Oh, it's one of my all-time favorites. That's a good one though. Yeah, do you got something, Squeaks?
Yeah, but it's kind of dumb. So,
That's right.
so I'm going.
the best
I'm
ones.
going with. I'm going with.
I just mentioned shells wiping her ass. Like, there's nothing dumber than that.
Well, I'm about to tell it right now.
Future, man.
Okay, so I kind of wanted some comedy, but with some like seriousness. And when I thought about the comedy, I thought about something more recently. So I'm going to go with Donkey Kong, like how he was portrayed in the movie, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, with Solid Snake. Okay. I need someone serious and I need someone kind of funny and just something outlandish.
Okay, is it because they both like to hide in boxes and barrels? Is that your whole thing?
Dude, imagine if Solid Snake was always in a barrel that had DK labeled on the front of it.
Oh my god, that is a wild duo. But just to see them in a cop car, I would,
that'd be funny.
that'd be down.
Yeah, it's like a Super Smash Brothers team up right there.
Yeah, imagine.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, imagine if they're chasing, I don't know, a criminal or whatever, right? But they're.
Yeah.
But you see Solid Snake in like a Mario Kart type thing on Rainbow Road. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Much needed already.
That could work, man.
What do you got, Thomas?
So I was kind of going through, I was like, I want something classic. I thought about doing animation with live action. And then somehow I just kind of fell on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Power Rangers. And I know it's not individual characters, but then I was trying to think of good combos. And I was like, maybe you have Raphael with like the Blue Ranger. I was thinking Green Ranger with like Raphael is two on the nose, right?
Wouldn't Donatello be the best one with the Blue Ranger? Because they're both kind of nerds.
Exactly, they're the same.
Yeah.
So do we want to just put all the similar characters together? I don't know.
Yeah,
see, like you could do some really fun team ups with that.
I want those two.
It's like multiple.
Just to jump in now, it hit me. Those two stuck in Mojo World from X-Men.
Oh, that'd be epic, man. Yeah, so something like that. I kept trying to think of like gargoyles with like live action, but I don't know. I couldn't think of where I would place that either. So if you got something out there, drop it in the comments.
There we go. Yeah, hit us up in the comments on that, guys. By the way, we also have an interview with Rich Davis at the end of this episode. We, as per usual, will have the shorter interview at the end of this episode, and the extended cut comes out on Thursday. So check that out. He's the writer of Angel Hunter. Fantastic chat. So we're going to be discussing The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1. Just first impressions, we're going to keep things a little bit spoiler-free in the beginning. I'll let people skip ahead if they want to. And then we'll get into total spoilers later on. What's your first impression, Squeaks?
Man, so I don't know if I'm the right person for this one, but my first impressions honestly is not very impressive. I thought it was lackluster. I didn't really care too much for it. I think because it is like screenshot and script by script of what we already know, so I'm just watching an imitation of that, which I don't hate. But then it's like, okay, well, now sometimes when we always fight for something that's so like say for Disney, right? We want it to be on the script because it's things we love and we grew up with. And then we finally kind of somewhat get something like that. Then it's just like so predictable and there's like no twist or no creativeness from maybe on the director's end. But watching this episode, there was nothing really that was like, no
groundbreaking.
Yeah, it didn't. Like I'm sitting there on the couch, I'm on my phone at the same time, and it was kind of like, it's not really like pulling me like into it. I think the one part maybe when Ellie kills like the first like ticker in that store. I mean, okay, cool. That's kind of exciting, especially like that whole built up of being sneaky. Other than that, nothing from like Joel was like anything wild.
Joel was pretty subdued, right? Yeah, I think they were really setting up. They were leaning Joel's character completely into the idea that he's going to be there's going to be a wedge between him and Ellie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he had his own story outside of it. Like he's building up the town, sure, but they didn't really explore that at all. I think the problem with this episode, as much as I do enjoy it, I did like it a lot, but it was so much setup for what's to come in this, because I had mentioned this before, but basically this is kind of a premiere for kind of a new show, because they went from being nomads out on their own and now they're members of society. And of course, we know like in the third season, it's going to be nomads again, essentially. But so we have to kind of reset. We have to learn these characters. We have to expand the scope of who we're following now. Yeah. Dina and stuff like that. A lot more characters are going to be following. So I think that was part of it. It was so much setup that, you know, hey, we already know this stuff. Let's get to the action. You know, let's see some clickers and stuff like that happening.
A little bit.
What'd you think, Thomas?
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys. Like, even though I don't really know the video game, I don't know the story, it was cool to be back with those characters, but it was pretty subdued. And I agree with you. I think they're just trying to show that this huge wedge has been driven in between Joel and Ellie. And it's like, we get that. They kind of beat you over the head with it a few times.
A little bit.
We get introduced to a lot of different characters with Jesse, with Dina, with Abby. Like, there's a ton of new characters for us to meet to set up this season, and I guess future seasons, but it is a lot. And then you're also kind of just seeing this town operate, so it's like, it could kind of be any town even before the apocalypse. So, it's okay, but I'm still super invested. But yeah, I agree with you guys. It was not very exciting for a premiere.
Yeah. It's the 5-year jump too. We have to kind of catch up with stuff there too and see how things have escalated. I think one of the key takeaways from the first season is I think it's pretty obvious that Ellie knows Joel was lying to her, because I think that's what created that split. Plus, she's a 19-year-old punk, like we all, teenagers are the worst. But I think that split is pretty evident, right? I think there's something there, and eventually they're going to have a confrontation, probably in the next couple episodes. Even, do you think that's going to happen? Because
this is my question: is like, does he have that confrontation in the game before Abby happens, or
Okay, so let's go ahead and throw out the spoiler tag real quick. I want to just throw that out there real fast. So we're going to be talking about things that happen in the video game going forward. Guys, careful with that. There are timestamps in the description if you guys want to jump forward to a future discussion. But in the game, she goes to the hospital and finds a recording of them talking about how, like, oh, she's the cure, but she'll die. And so now she knows the truth. I think that happens before Abby approaches.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been some time now. And I remember like it was a point where she like was willing to do this, right? If I remember right. So yeah, it kind of sounds like a fucking
even
asshole,
on that
man.
porch, she tells him like that porch scene they seem to kind of recreate right there. She tells him like, I had a purpose. I was willing to die for this purpose. Yeah. And Joel just wasn't ready for that to happen.
Yeah. You know what, too? In the part where her and Tommy are shooting, like he's doing aiming practice or like shooting targets and stuff. He even says like, there's no running off this time. Like if you go on a supply run, like there's no running off this time. What if the last time she ran off, she did go to Utah and did discover the purpose, So like maybe there is a part where she does actually already know, like not only was he was lying to her, but she knows exactly what he did too. So yeah, I don't know. I think they could work that in the story.
You could get like a flashback to maybe a year after they were there actually, because that 5 years they could do flashbacks within that 5 years, showing that she had already done this.
Exactly. Yeah. So she could definitely know, not only just know that he's lying, but like know exactly what he was lying about. That could change a lot too. But I didn't know where it fell into the story in the game, so that could also change how they do it.
Yeah. Then we have Abby. I think one of the most hated characters in all video games. Squeaks, what do you think about this take? I know that you're probably not a big fan of Abby. I know Daniel was like the day that he started playing that game, he's like, this bitch. So mad at her.
So this event with Abby and Joel, right? It happens pretty early in the game. I remember that. But Abby grows on me later and becomes like starting to become my favorite character to play as in Last of Us 2. Okay. And I think it's because of the relationship. And I think fuck yeah, right? But I think a little bit there was like some, I guess, critics of like the relationship that Joel's gone now and what Abby and Dina, is that the name? Yeah, Dina have compared to what Joel and Ellie had. But I kind of found like a special bond when you're starting to play Abby and then she's with a little boy. And I was kind of digging that because it's almost like an older sister, little brother type thing. And that's what really like gravitated me to like, man, I really like Abby. I don't mind playing The Last of Us 3. That's more, following this whatever future of Abby, because now I think Ellie, the way number 2 in, Ellie's fine. I think she's just kind of like lost it all, but like is with, if I remember, she's without the little baby, right?
Yeah, because at that point, Dina takes, again, spoiler, this is real big spoiler. Dina takes the baby and leaves the house because she decides to go kill Abby. Yeah. And she's like, then when you come back, we're not going to be here. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So I think I'd rather see that relationship and maybe like Ellie popping in if we ever had a Last of Us 3. But I'm pretty excited to see Abby and after Joel situation with the series, but I think that's gonna be like a part 2 for season 3.
I can't imagine them doing the Joel thing too early. I think that truly has to be, which is funny because when you the second game, that happens so early, and so much of the second game is actually going to Seattle and being in Seattle, doing all the Seattle stuff. So to think that they're gonna somehow stretch this game into 2 parts, and the first part, which is maybe the first 20% of the game, is the first half of the story that they're going to be telling, is pretty wild to me.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to have to move some stuff around. I think they're going to move a lot of the Wolf storyline that I think is Jeffrey D. Morgan. No, who's the actor who's playing? I can't remember his name. They're going to have a lot of that Wolf storyline. They're going to move a lot of that from the Washington area into our story here and kind of get us introduced to the other characters that are going to be a bigger problem for Abby, in the future, really.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright. That's what
Jeffrey Wright. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but it also seems like now that they're showing the giraffes too, right? Like we saw last season, Joel and Ellie, they see the giraffes and it's a sign of like, oh, peace, look at these amazing things. And now they flipped it around, right? Like the giraffes near Abby's dad's headstone is like a terrible thing for her, right? It's like this terrible omen. It seems like they're probably just going to stretch out more of her behind the scenes too, right? Like there's just so much more they can do with that 5-year time jump. It's like you probably can have at least Pedro Pascal around a lot more in flashbacks or just kind of showing a lot more setup for when the thing with Abby goes down.
It's weird because it looks like they kind of pushed forward real fast for Abby because it takes a while for her and her crew, who their fireflies become wolves and then eventually fireflies again. But they take over the mansion kind of a little bit further in. And right now we saw them inside the mansion. So it's like, okay, so you guys could do that storyline very quickly if you wanted to, but I think they're going to milk it somehow. It'll be interesting to see. Now, if they were to follow the pacing of the game, do you think that would upset more mainstream fans who don't play the video game?
That's tough. I don't know. I don't think so. Because the way I see it is that I hope we don't get the fillers because of what they want to do with the part 1 and part 2. And that's just going to drag along. Like if we already got the first episode and it was kind of like lackluster, how many fillers are you going to do to make this last the 2 parts, right? I mean, kind of give people what they want, right? Every time we watch Game of Thrones, we're ready for like bang, 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 something to happen. Like that gets us excited. And when you have like one of these dull episodes and like, damn, I got to wait another week now for the next one. Like, what the hell? So hopefully that's not. And I think it'll keep the people in tune, right? I mean, the first episode of the first season, right? If I remember right, the daughter did die, right? So we're locked in. Nothing really happened to this episode to keep me locked in. So I think that is kind of important to have to happen.
Yeah. Like we had the stalker part where she falls through, and then the other craziest thing was the firework near the drain, and then you could see the cordyceps coming through the drain, and then it was like, and then the episode ends, and you're like, oh, okay, that's bad, but like,
which that's new, I believe.
No, I don't recognize that.
Yeah. So I don't know how it goes in the game, but that seems like a way that I don't know how the cordyceps tells what's around, but that already seems like you have like a spy camera in the encampment in a sense, right? Like, like I don't know.
That'd be some weird shit now.
Fungus be peeking on us. The atmosphere looks good. The tone looks good. The pacing needs to speed up a little bit, but I think we're off to a really good start, frankly. And I think there's going to be something there extra for the people who played the video games, and for the people who didn't are in for a hell of a good story.
Yeah.
I think they picked the right actor for Abby because Abby, of course, becomes far more important as the show will go on. I do feel like you got to be a little bit stronger, girl, but that's okay. I mean, Abby is freaking buff.
Yeah. Maybe she'll bulk up as the season goes on, like she joins up with the wolves. They got a weight room, she just starts like, there's some leftover muscle milk. She just starts throwing it down.
Weight training on Tuesday and Thursday, Abby. Let's go. We're going to be reviewing this every week over on Challenge Accepted, guys. If you guys want to join us over there. Matter of fact, we already reviewed it this week as well. It's out now. Yeah. Go check it out, guys. Immediate reaction. So we watch the show, then we record, and we get our minds blown. So join us over there.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to be talking about South by Midnight. And Squeaks, you played this game and you were very blown away by this.
Very much. Yeah. So Frank's put me on the spot right now to give a review on South of Midnight, which I thought I did in an article I wrote, but never mind then. So let's talk about it.
Well, that's the article feeds us, buddy. So everything you said in the article, now say it out loud.
So one thing that I've also mentioned that it's been a very long time, and I go back to like probably God of War Ragnarok, where I've been so locked into a single player story only game. Mm-hmm. I was really excited for this game to come out when I saw just the animation of it. The animation, obviously, we've seen is that stop motion capture, and sometimes we get a lot of it. And a majority of the time, it's in facial features for sure. You do get a little snippets of like body motion, but sometimes it's a little too smooth. But the facial features is what really keeps it like keeping that stop animation continuing. This takes place like Southern America, like Mississippi type feels. Yeah, which I really love that. Legends. Yeah, I really love that atmosphere. Basically, you're following a girl named Hazel. There's this big storm one night, and it floods away her house, and her mom happens to be in this house. Well, during that flood, the house is going down the river, and next thing you know, there's like this big monster trying to attack it. So what this game is really like entwining is this Southern feel, bluegrass feel on top of like old folklore. So if you think about it, like I'm being narrated by a talking catfish, which is like happens to be my companion that I ride on. But it's just, it's like, it's so magical, right? Yeah. So a lot of
that reminds you of God of War too, because like one of my favorite parts about God of War is having the talking head behind you to telling you stories about ancient Greece and stuff like that. Or the Norse mythologies. And I was just like, well, I'm rowing the boat. I'm like, take my time, man. This is good stuff. Yeah.
No, so it's great. So the overall arc is right. You're getting your mom back. Where's your mom at? And it seems like your mom's been somewhat captured of what I like to call them. I think it's how you say is we're like Rooks. I know I'm saying that wrong. I think there's an accent to it. But he's kind of like the Dr. Facilier. Tall, skinny, and he doesn't look as strong. But what's cool is that along this journey is that he seems to be the pimp, but then there's all these monsters, that are like bigger and more fearsome looking. But at the same time, you're untwining, I guess you could say, these monsters like stories. Yeah. And man, they're so tragic. And I think I said this tragic and beautiful all at the same time. Yeah. For example, one of them was two brothers. Okay. And one brother was just born differently. And then he'd get made fun of and stuff. But the brother that, was more normal, didn't have any issues, was tired of it and tired of dealing with it. So he actually put the brother in a tree, nailed him into it, like barricaded him into the tree. Yeah. And then so many years later, he grows into the tree and now he's kind of just like stuck there. And then you actually kind of help untwine that story and then like help him out a little bit. But there's so like of these other stories that are just like, man, that's so depressing. But it's just beautifully told at the same time.
Now, are these the kind of stories that are kind of like told around the campfire in the South? Is that what you're kind of getting from the game?
So there are, essentially. So there are like some folklore to it. One of them I think is gosh, I forget the name, like Hanging Molly or something like that, where essentially it's just like, did I get it right or something like that? Whatever.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically like they have it where she takes children and like kind of kills like, adults or whatever for certain reasons and always leaves like these webs behind. So you're figuring that story out till you're like, man, screw this like monster, right? Like you're killing all the children. No, essentially she's rescuing children from like really bad,
abusive parents.
upbringings. So each chapter is like this like really awesome story, but you're just trying to get to this overarching story of trying to get your mother back.
One of the things I want to add in is the studio sent down a bunch of researchers to go learn more about the Southern Gothic folklore.
Yeah, so badass.
And one of the keys that they wanted to bring in for an aesthetic were the bottles that you put on trees that have souls in them.
Exactly. Yep.
How was that as a gameplay mechanic?
Yeah, so that's not so much of a mechanic when it comes to the bottle. The bottle is essentially of you capturing these stories. Like each story has like 3 to 4, like you explore a little bit and then you kind of learn more of that story and you're capturing that story into the bottle to unlock like, okay, here's the boss fight. But yeah, that was like, it's so crazy how much that it actually does seem that, like you said, right? It's studied and put into the game. But yeah, that's essentially that. But now going to like the combat and rhythm of everything, it's very much predictable when there's going to be a situation. I mean, you talked about this earlier of where like, hey, here's your area and
Health pod's hanging out over
all
here.
right, there's a health pod
about to get lit
there,
up.
a wide open area. Like, okay.
Yeah.
And then the boss fight happens. So it's not like smooth as like if you were playing, I don't know, I'm just thinking like Devil May Cry and the monsters just kind of pop out, right? So that's kind of like too predictable. After a while, it gets kind of like, okay, I've done this before.
A little repetitive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hate using that word because I feel like every game is repetitive. But
you've used untwined 3 times, so you know what the hell.
Because she does have a like, what do you call it, like a spool or like
all the magic abilities seems like she's like
exactly.
Yeah, it's like she's throwing out almost like magic spider webs or like
exactly
or something like that. It's pretty cool.
So, but yeah, so that part is kind of like, okay, well, I know it's coming. There's nothing surprising here, so that gets kind of like boring. But the fighting's fine. I have no issues with it. Really, the combat's totally fine. You get spells, and you get the more you like uncover of like a specific currency in the game, which you don't get so much in the combat, but you do get a lot of exploration, which is kind of simple too. Like, hey, I'm being told to go right. If I go left, I'll find a little bit more of that currency. You know, that's not too hard.
Do you feel okay? So this is $40 game, which I think is pretty fair for a first outing. Do you feel like this is a first outing for a new franchise for Xbox to explore further into?
Oh man, if it's not so much of based on this story, I would love to see like if they explore other folklores like within the like states or wherever. That'd be
like Assassin's Creed style, right? Like next we're gonna go to see the Greek version of it, which would be so not I say Greek, but actually I exactly don't like that. Find the ones that are less explored, like we saw with the Southern Gothic style.
And that'd be perfect, exactly. And that'd be sweet. I mean, I said it already in my article. Like Xbox seems like they're getting that list of exclusives that we've been waiting for since day one, and this is definitely one to check out. I mean, with right before this, I was playing Indiana Jones. That's exclusive, obviously, as well as Xbox, and man, it just seems like, am I actually playing more here now than on my PlayStation, which is. It's just hard to say sometimes.
Changing time. Yeah, changing time. I actually am too as well. Just because I think it's the controller for me. I literally got a game. It was the Valhalla that I was playing on PlayStation. I'm like, I'm gonna get on the Xbox because I like that controller better. And I have sure enough played a lot more. Yeah. So
One last thing I'll say about it though, with the combat, the soundtrack is awesome. Every song that pops as you're like either just climbing on things and exploring, to even combat tailors to the story that you're currently in right now. So like the whole Hanging Molly or whatever I just said, I keep forgetting. Yeah. There's a song, and if you listen to the words closely, it's explaining like the story. Some of my favorite parts is you eventually get to like New Orleans, and it's more like messed up dimensional New Orleans where you're, you know, like different trails of the street everywhere. Twisting things. And it's playing jazz as you're defeating these monsters. And once you finish that fight, it just kind of closes out that song, but it's so fluent. Like there's no interruptions or anything. Like, man, I'm getting down to jazz, like killing demons.
I'm telling you right now, you are selling the shit out of this game. I know.
It's so good. It's so beautiful. Like I've been
watching a lot of TikToks on it too, man. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
So when they announced it, I was like, oh, that looks neat. Like it seemed gimmicky because of the stop motion thing. Yeah. But then it's one of those things where, okay, as people are playing it, no, it's actually got really a solid foundation for a game and maybe a future franchise.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And that's that. I mean, there's really almost nothing negative I have to say about this game. It's crazy how it's attached to me so much.
Yeah. Wow. I put that quote up that you said, like, there hasn't been a game in years that's got you were so emotionally attached to the story or whatever. A lot of people seem to be resonating with that as well. Wow. South by Midnight, guys, check it out. Squeaks wrote the entire article on our website. It's a really good article. Talks about Hazel and her journey and whatnot too. So give that a gander, y'all. Let's get into some of the news. Let's jump right to the Harry Potter casting. Now, finally, we got some casting confirmed for the Harry Potter series. I'm going to go over these, and I want your reaction, Squeaks, because I know you are the Harry Potter head here. Yeah. By the way, guys, they got butterbeer everything now. Holy cow.
The kisses are awesome.
Did you try the butterbeer cookies yet?
Oh, yeah. Are you talking about the fish ones? Or no?
No. Those are good.
Oh, man.
No, the goldfish crackers have butterbeer goldfish crackers. Bombing.
I have not seen
Okay. I was just thinking of fish with butterbeer, and I was I don't know about that.
Those fish don't last long. No, but they have also like the Keebler Elf cookies or whatever that are butterbeer, and it's like, okay, you can only have a couple of these before you're like your sugar content goes too high.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, they do an elf version of that too with the goldfish. God, those are so good. They're like little maple cookie things. Man, those are delicious. Crazy.
All right, so let's get into some Harry Potter series casting. So, the last two of the new ones. John Lithgow is going to be the Hogwarts headmaster, Dumbledore. Janet McTeer is going to be McGonagall. Papa Asidu is going to be Severus Snape. Nick Frost will be Hagrid. Now here's the 2 new ones. Luke Fallon will be Professor Quirrell, Quirrell, I think it is. I hate that dude. And then Paul Whitehouse is going to be Filch, the guy who's constantly mopping with his cat. So, Squeaks, is there any casting here that you're super excited for? I think Nick Frost playing Hagrid, I think is really good. What do you think?
Not at all. I don't give a shit about this series. So,
Love it.
no, I do like Nick Frost. And we talked about it before, where he played this like British comedy where he had the long beard. I think it was the last podcast, and it wow, that's Hagrid, right? Just throw some long hair on it, and I think that's perfect. Yeah. So when it comes to like near perfect casting, I think that's the one. But honestly, yeah, I have no feelings towards this show. This is the one Harry Potter thing I think in my whole life that I'm not excited for. I wish we were, and I'll say it again, getting the Cursed Child. Like, there's no reason why we can't get a series of the Cursed Child. Why? You know what? I was just talking about this. I'm on a movie marathon, and that movie marathon I'm doing right now is Twilight, because it's been a while. Okay, so I just finished the first Twilight.
There you go. I'm on the right episode now. My wife makes me watch it every Halloween, all freaking whatever it is, 6-7 movies
every time.
Yep.
So I'll go through the Lord of the Rings.
That last movie's fight team was pretty good.
I'll go through the Lord of the Rings, Star Wars or whatever, and it's been a while since I did Twilight.
Boom.
So then we're watching Twilight, and I'm like, you know what pisses me off is that they're redoing the Harry Potter movies into a series. And why it pisses me off, because that shit was near perfect and it didn't need to be done. And what needs to be done is a Curse the Child. Okay, give us that shit already. Yeah. Not everybody's gonna go watch it on a whole day play or a 2-day play of it. Damn it.
Here's my question for you, Squeaks. If you were in Hogwarts, if they were casting you for the show, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll make it better. Who are you gonna be playing? Look at him.
Oh my God. How badly do I want to say Hermione? But
you would make a very cute Hermione, I will say.
Oh man. Honestly, oh my God. Probably some loser.
So conflicted.
Man, I'll probably be one of the Draco's like dummies, right? What are the guys?
Oh yeah, like one of those lackeys that are behind him the whole time.
One of those.
Shut the boss.
I don't know if I can handle a real role.
I'd want to run one of those taverns that the kids go to like during Christmas break or whatever, and you're just got like a magical bar that you're just constantly. To me, that seems like the dream gig. I always if I was going to the Old West, I want to run the bar in the Old West, and the same thing goes for the magical world too. I'm like magic shots. I'm totally down for that. Getting kids drunk. Yeah. Forget that I said that, but. That's what I was.
You know what? I got kind of maybe a counter opinion on this.
Yes.
Only because I went to, my wife and I went on a trip to England this past December, and because she wanted a Harry Potter Christmas, like she's the Potterhead in our house. And yeah, we did. We went to Universal but like seeing how much Harry Potter is a part of that culture and how much people love it there and stuff, and like seeing little kids around and everything, like it's still perfect to us. Don't get me wrong. I almost feel like it does. I agree with you, but I also see why they're kind of doing it, because there's all these little kids, like, that is their Harry Potter, but they could also have a Harry Potter that's theirs.
No, fuck that.
And it's like,
no. They need to watch the right Harry Potter, okay?
No, I get it. It's like for me with Star Wars. Yeah, it's like me with Star Wars. Like, you never need to redo Star Wars, but I kind of understand why they're doing it in a sense, just because like it's such a big thing there. It needs like a resurgence some way in the homeland where it's built. You know what I mean?
Well,
like they have Paddington and Harry Potter.
Yeah. Well, and it's the next generation that's going to find their love for the Harry Potter series, right?
Yeah.
It might sicken us to think this, but there's a lot of kids that are moviegoers right now that are born after the Harry Potter series is done.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're going to need their
like
own
old
show
movies to them.
And my kids are watching this, okay?
Well, I know.
But you're a good dad, so
like, of course. I watched a lot of 70s movies when I was a kid because my parents thought like the original Westworld is perfect. Why would you need to do anything else? But, in reflection, it's like I was pretty unique in that sense. Most people were watching what's coming out today, And I think that's true. I think we do need a new generation. But I will admit the first movies are perfect. Like, there's no reason to change it in that sense.
They're perfect.
Yeah. Now, can I mention, since Thomas, we agreed on Twilight, right? Okay. I'm just gonna say this real quick. Yeah. Now that's watching the first one. I think I had to look it up. I was like, when did this come out? And it was 2008. And I was like, man, the early 2000s are so 90s. Watching that movie, I'm like, holy shit. Now that like so many years later, right?
Yeah.
That thing can use a refresh. Okay.
Right. Okay. But I remember it being. I asked my
bad.
wife about that. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But if I asked my wife about it, she'd be like, no, never redo them again.
Yeah.
But to me, it's
Good
like,
point.
no, they need updated dialogue. They need like, I don't need like Edward to look like he smells a fart when Bella walks in. Like, I need him to look
that
like
was
he's
overly
hot.
dramatic, Tina. He said that.
Right? Exactly.
Well, I think the same thing
I
can be
don't
said
think
for Harry
farted
Potter
and
too. That
jizzed at
first
the
Harry
same
Potter
time.
movie. Oh, goddamn. That first Harry Potter movie, though, I think while it does seem like there's something about when those doors open up and you see the floating candles.
Oh
the
my
music,
God,
the
yeah.
John Williams music. It is cinema.
Yeah.
But like the troll that breaks in, like that thing was bad CGI for the day.
Yeah.
It's terrible CGI
Yeah.
now. It's like cartoon now. So there are a lot of elements that could use a refresh. And I wonder, is there any dialogue that I could think? I can't think of any dialogue that was bad. I know in the books he spends a lot more time with his aunt and uncle before Hogwarts happens. And apparently they're going to stick closer to the book, so it's probably going to happen this time too. Talk about a slow couple episodes. Harry Potter not at Hogwarts sucks. You know? So
Yeah.
it's going to be super boring.
And like you said, they're tailoring it to the books. So we're going to see some characters that were in the books that's not in there in the movie that should have been, I think, were originally done for the movie. Like there's another ghost, I forget the name, that did there was a big ordeal about it, that he did all the film for it and then they just took him out. So we'll see like characters we haven't seen before, and then we'll get additional Quidditch matches which were in the book that were not in the show. So
I like
be
that
fun.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
Especially Quidditch with like today's CGI would look very good, I
yeah,
think.
yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep.
All right, Thomas, we didn't hear from you. Who would you be if you were to join the Harry Potter series?
Yeah, I was also thinking I'll just be one of Draco's minions, or I'll be a Hufflepuff
All right, I'll
or
be
something.
Draco then. If you guys want to be my minions.
Sounds good, Master.
There we go. Marvel Rivals Season 2 kicked off this week. We got a new hero, Emma Frost. She's a Vanguard. We've got Hellfire Gala in Krakoa. There's a rank reset, and I'm stuck in Elo Hell, me and Squeaks. And bunch of performance-based checks and stuff like that. Yes, all kinds of fun stuff happening. Squeaks, I know you hate this game. I don't want to go to Thomas. Thomas, you haven't played it yet. What from Season 2 are you most hyped about?
Yeah, I mean, I really do just want to try a new Vanguard. I think that was such a smart move, making her Vanguard. Like, they could have easily made her a duelist. They could have easily made her strategist. But, like, the Vanguard was a pretty unique choice, and I think it's kind of awesome. Obviously, everybody's standing in line right now to get chokeslammed, so that's kind of fun. And, yeah, they just...
size.
Exactly. They just keep bringing in Marvel baddies, so it's just fun. I'm a giant X-Men fan. I love the Hellfire Gala. If you go back to the Krakoa era, right at the end of it, that last Hellfire Gala is absolutely wild. So to kind of change in the bad guy from that to Ultron, I think is pretty unique. It's something I almost just want them to do a what if issue of that, because that would be epic. But it's just the setting, man, it just seems so cool. I'm about it.
They do have the Rivals comic book. I wish it stuck more close. I wish it filled in more of the book.
I actually just bought two
But
of those
maybe
issues because just the cover variants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, I think it was a good move for her to be a Vanguard. The only problem is I am always fighting against her, and you know how like video games have to be very careful with like visual, what's it called? Basically visual messaging. It has to be as fast as possible, like under a second. And she looks so much like Cloak and Dagger and like Invisible Woman because the blonde, white and blue clothes that I continuously think she's a healer. And then all of a sudden I'm like, man, her health does not go down. Oh, that's right. She's not a healer.
Wow.
So I'm having a hard time sometimes facing her because of that. But Squeaks, you tend to be pretty good with her. What do you think about her?
Yeah, no, I'm really digging her a lot. I think it's sometimes like her charging of her beam is a little slow. So I'm constantly like, okay, that's my main focus because that's when I start putting real damage in.
Yeah.
But then like really placements of the shield, I'm starting to become really more selfish with the shield where I'm only using it for myself. And I think that's kind of like where,
that's very Emma Frost.
Well, if you're in the front line, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's been the right thing to do. At first I was putting it out there to kind of shield like a general, but it's a small shield. So I'm like, okay, let me take this in for myself. I like her a lot. She's one where almost like the thing he got me interested in. But where I just instantly tried for the first time, it's like, you know what? I could really invest some time in this character. I really love this character. So and I'm always playing Vanguard really anyway. So since Cap, this has been my number 2 now. Might be number 1 eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think her damage might be a little overtuned. I am seeing people carry the teams pretty easily with her, which I don't think was a problem we had with the thing. I think maybe turning down her damage a little bit, maybe increasing her health would probably be better for everybody else. But as somebody who's fighting against her constantly, she's definitely more noticeable on the battlefield than I think the thing was.
Yeah.
Especially as somebody who plays my 2 mains right now. Well, 3 mains technically is Cloak and Dagger, Scarlet Witch, and Namor. If it's a thing, I'll just smoke that dude. He's no big deal. But for her, she's really having to be changing my strategy quite a bit.
Yeah. Especially that diamond form, and then you're talking damage too, right? Where you could like pull essentially like a diamond out of them to deal that damage, make that explode, and it does that additional damage on top of them as well. Yeah. So yeah, she's kind of great. Yeah.
And people who are already in the higher elos, those jerks, what they're doing with her is they're putting her shield out behind, like in the middle of the team, because then it cuts the healers off from the rest of the team. And she's and then all of a sudden she just shut off both healers, and it's like, oh, that's too strong. So when like Doctor Strange is forced to put the shield in front of him, she could move that shield out, right? So she could then split the team in half, and the healers are always in the back. So then suddenly you just shut everybody off from the two healers, and then you can take out the pushers.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I saw. Is it her ult that kind of traps everybody in it in a sense? Like it'll kind of hit everybody at one time. Yes. Oh man, I saw like one of the dopest clips. Somebody was doing that. And then around the corner, a Scarlet Witch started their ult, swung around the corner while everybody was trapped, and just wiped the team. I'm like, God, that is such a good. Like, she's adding some cool elements to it.
That exact thing.
Oh, really?
So frustrating.
I hate it.
She's just like you're just walking towards her like you're a zombie, and then all of a sudden you're like, screaming from above. You're like, son of a bitch.
So just freaking. You're like, I'm not getting out of this.
And that's the other thing too, is because of all the reworks going on. There are a Scarlet Witch in every single match now because she's a little too much damage. And I played her back when she sucked, I'll say. And now everybody's playing her, and it's like, calm down, guys. It's, they're going to nerf her quick the way they
put them in their place, man. Put them in their place.
So kind of putting you all on the spot right now. So Frank, you brought a good idea because we were talking about characters, and I was like, man, the only time I want to be a DPS is when that Daredevil drops. But you said something that kind of like really got me going, was that they're really reaching into the bag of who they're gathering for. Because who would ever thought like Emma Frost was going to be one? Right? Like what? There's barely even Emma Frost like comics on the shelf, right? I mean, there's one I believe coming out in June, but mostly the times that you see Emma Frost are going to be featured in things. So who's one character that you got to look way in the back that you would want to see in a Marvel Rivals? And then just to give you a second because I put you in the spot, I was thinking of, if I'm saying this wrong, it's been a while since I even like said this character's name. But is it Deathstriker or right? What was the female with the long
Lady Deathstrike?
Yeah. Is it Deathstrike?
Yeah.
Lady Deathstrike.
One that has adamantium fingernails, basically.
Yeah. I was thinking her. Yes. I think she'd be pretty cool. And if you're trying to like really reach far and save like those Avengers characters, I think she'd be really cool to see.
That'd be sick too if she could
climb
what she would
walls. Use, obviously. I don't know. I mean,
she could be like a Black
DPS.
Panther.
I can't, think of, but
yeah.
Who are you thinking? If anyone?
I got two obvious ones. They're not deep cuts by any means, but
okay.
One, and I've even seen people make like the attack sheet. But obviously for me, I'm a giant Cyclops fan. I want Cyclops. I wouldn't mind him using his blast to also move around. So that if you, instead of like a normal double jump, you could just blast up. So it's like a regular jump, shoots down, blast up. Or also like he has a slam down with the blast. He can ricochet. I think that would be sick. He could bounce off other people's shields. Like there's so much you could do with him. So that I don't know if you make him a Vanguard. He'd probably be a duelist. So that'd be my number one. But one game,
I don't know, man, because he's like a leader. I could feel him just leading the charge.
Yeah, but I don't know if he has like the health stats. But I don't know. Maybe they can make it work. And then the other one, which I've never seen a game do it. I've still wanted to see this. I was hoping they would do it in the old Marvel Avengers game, Quicksilver. I want a game to do like a real speedster where they have super low health, but like they're almost untouchable. Kind of like what Spider-Man is, I guess. Yeah. But just like
I can see this
kind of like a Tracer, right?
Oh, Tracer, I was thinking Tracer, like making sure they speed in and then they can speed back out right away. That'd be kind of fun.
Quicksilver.
I don't think you're too far on that Cyclops one because the way they're doing this, like this season's battle pass, there's a lot of yellow and blue out there for some cosmetics. I mean, let's go. Come on.
In the comic book, in the new issue of comic book too, Jubilee's in it.
Yeah.
With Hellfire Gala costumes. It's like, So
yeah.
Mine's Moon Girl and Devil Sword. Devil Dinosaur.
Wow.
Because and I would want like Moon Girl to be maybe a healer, possibly damage, but then like you transition to Devil Sword to do some tanking, and you're constantly like I do Cloak and Dagger that way, like it's constantly jumping back and forth between damage and healing. So do something similar to that where you're constantly bouncing between who's got the front line of the two.
Just like open up a whole other thing for now. I'm thinking the
Runaways. I think he was ready for this secretly. Like he's making his wish list already.
I know, seriously,
right next to his monitor.
Think about like all the awesome skins that you'd have with the devil dinosaur. Like it'd be sick. Like it'd be crazy.
Dude, you could do
just a full on like Dr. Grant and like T-Rex from Jurassic Park. I would God, I'd buy so much of that.
That'd be epic. Yeah,
badass. Yeah,
dude, Menorah from the Runaways. too. Now that you got me thinking about Runaways, have like that one guy and it has a dinosaur too. That's why, man, they could do a ton with those characters too. Man, it's endless.
They brought in magic. They could do anything. Like now I'm thinking like with magic, you have all the people that were with her. What's that, Wolf Girl or whatever? Like
Wolfsbane.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of stuff. Wolfsbane. Yeah, that'd be a fun one too. Like you transition into a wolf and do more damage, something like that for a limited time.
Man.
All right, guys, let us know if you're playing Marvel Rivals. We always need people, especially if you're a tank. I need tanks. And was it or not just Captain America?
He wants a specific tank, guys. Don't listen to him.
Yeah.
He wants a Hulk. If you're not a Hulk, you don't want it.
You're right.
Give me Hulk. And then I can play Namor and carry your ass. Yeah, you want assist? Just play Hulk. I'll do the rest. You can literally stand in the back with Hulk and I will do enough to count for 2 people. Please help me out. All right, last thing before we get into our interview, let's talk about Andor Season 2. That's coming out on the 22nd. Thank you for reminding me, Thomas. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what happened in the last season, what's happening in the next season, what we want to see as we lead up to Rogue One. When's the last time you guys watched Andor Season 1? I'm watching it right now. I'm like in the middle of it right now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Episode
the original
6.
release. So my memory is pretty bad. So.
Okay, so I'm going to touch on a couple things. I'm going to touch on the first season real quick so you guys get reminded of it. And then I want you guys to reflect on your favorite parts. Okay, so first off, episode 1, Cassian accidentally kills 2 guys outside of a bar. They're the pre-Mor security officers, starts a problem. And then we see that Cassian scrambles to take cover. He's got this Imperial tech. He's trying to sell it off to keep himself safe. Luthen Rael arrives to Ferrix. He's going to be buying this tech from him. And we see that he's actually part of this upcoming rebellion. Luthen ends up saving Cassian during the Pre-Mor raid, and they escape Ferrix together. And then so everything's done in Andor by 3 episode chunks. That's how the story arcs go. The next story arc starts. It's all Aldhani. Luthen drops Cassian off, says, "You're Clem now. You're going to be helping these guys out." They prepare for this big raid on this, payroll depot, cash money.
Yeah.
And everything's going wrong. And Eben Moss Baccarat is such a jerk. I forgot that he's in the show. He's such an asshole.
He's a dick.
But he's right. He is saying, like, something's not right with this guy. Anyway, so they do the Aldhani heist, and generally it goes well. They do get away with it, but basically it's just Cassian, Vel, and Skeen to get away.
A couple people die, which is sad. Yeah, Fennec or whatever.
Yes.
Mennick. Yeah, like that guy.
The news of the heist gives shockwaves, really tells everybody, hey, there's a rebellion starting to kick up. The Empire starts to tighten their control. Cassian is sentenced to 6 years in a brutal Imperial prison. And we see that this prison's very high tech and they're all building something. Tension rises in the prison. Eventually it leads to a prison break. And that's probably my favorite part of the whole thing. But we also see that what they were building was part of the Death Star. And then on the last trio of episodes, we have Cassian leads a prison revolt. Yeah, that's part of so it's part of that one. Cassian learns of his adoptive mother's or Marva's death, so he's going to return. And then everyone convenes at the funeral to show their respect, but also kind of begin the rebellion from Ferrix. And then Cassian rescues Bix, and confronts Luthen for his part in all this. And yeah, that's where we're at. Basically, we're seeing that the Death Star is nearing completion, which is a big part of Rogue One. So what was your guys' favorite part of that first season of Andor?
Yeah, I would say I really like the Aldani heist, if I'm saying that, Aldani heist.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the whole edge of your seat, like, oh man, this is really like some badass Star Wars I haven't seen in a while. But one thing that always sticks out to me is that prison break, right? And then at the end, he's like, I can't swim. And I was like, you're wrecking me right now. Come on, man. Like, you're doing that shit to me now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is one of the better shows that Star Wars released, I feel like, and yeah, I'm looking for that season. Looking forward to that season too, really. Yeah.
What about you, Thomas?
Oh yeah, of course. The escape from the prison is one of the best scenes of like any show ever. Just like you're like, oh my god, you don't think it's gonna get too much crazier than the heist, and then that whole segment goes on, or that arc, and holy shit, it just really pops off. But one thing that always sticks out to me, and I always think about, like, I fight for a sunrise I'll never see. I'll fight for, all that kind of stuff. Like that speech from Luthen will always like just rings in my head. Like if I want to get fired up, I'll just listen to that.
What do I sacrifice?
What do I sacrifice? Everything. It's just like so good. So that's one of my other favorite parts. I mean, the dialogue is just so good, and it also just kind of shows
peak
like
dialogue for Star Wars.
Peak Tony Gilroy, shout out. He just crushed it. I mean, is credited as like the savior of Rogue One. And I think what he does with this series just kind of shows like why he's such a legend and why Star Wars needs him. But yeah, just like the casting was really on point. And it made me truly care about a show that did not have lightsabers. Yeah. It's not like one of the things that's like, we don't need lightsabers all the time. It's like, no, this is the show that proves it. There's other shows that say that.
And they're not missing, by the way. I want to throw that out there because sometimes you're like, man, come on, a lightsaber, get in on this. You could forget lightsabers exist in this world with this show. I loved that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, just so well acted. I liked everybody, even people that, are kind of bad. You kind of feel sympathetic for him, like Cyril. Like Cyril's a piece of shit in the beginning, but then you see how his mom treats him and then how he has like this low job and like nobody cares about him, but he's still determined to prove himself. It's like you kind of want to see him get his comeuppance, even though he's a dick. So it's just really, I think it's just really good writing.
Through his eyes and through Luthen and through Mon Mothma. No, I'm saying that wrong. Mothma. Thank you. You see more of the Empire side of things that we haven't seen in the movies. I think in the movies are just the big bad and they're left to that plot point. But here you actually see like there's people who live in these cities and Coruscant that have different varying abilities and tasks and stuff like that. And the Empire is a machine that feeds many. And so when you're going to blow it up, it needs to be for the right reason. And then that's why we also get Lompharics where like, oh, there are atrocities happening. And it's just because they're on the outer rim and they're kind of forgotten, it's okay to kind of push it out there. But we do need to put a spotlight on when these atrocities are happening. And I think that it does a really good job of kind of like slowly building the tension. By the end, you're like, yeah, bring down the Empire. And in the beginning, you're like, well, it is the law of the land. There's kind of this grow within the actual show itself,
Yeah. Like in the new series, though, like in the new trilogies, they tried to explain how the First Order will rise. But I think this show does a way better job of showing how the rebellion would actually rise. Like the Empire is so confident and they seem so confident, even to people who are on their inside. Like, we don't have to listen to you. You're too low of a rank. Why would we listen to you about your hunch? And it kind of shows like why an empire would be able to rise too, which is a rebellion. I mean, and it's just like really good. Just so good. And like, it makes you care about like, how did the rebellion start? Oh shit. This is crazy. So it's good.
Yeah. Looking at season 2, which starts on the 22nd, we're going to get 12 episodes, again, broken up as 3 episode arcs. And it's going to be spanning 4 years. So we're going to get time jumps in between each of the 3 arcs. We have a lot of returning people, but we're also getting more that are coming from Rogue One. So at the start of Rogue One, the idea is that we're going to do this mission to go, find the plans for the Death Star, a very pivotal moment for the original Star Wars trilogy. Is there anything else that you want this story to tell that might have been missing from Rogue One that would help bolster the rebellion and help actually kind of fill out some of that Star Wars original movie storyline? Is there anything you can think of? What do you got, Squeaks? You got anything for me?
No. Let me think.
Yeah, I got an idea. Like just establishing certain bases. So by the time we get to the original Star Wars trilogy, like we see that the rebellion has amassed like all these weapons and all these X-Wings and all that stuff. Like, how did they do it? Who did they either build? Like, who built that? Who did they source it from? Like, we kind of, in the books, we find out how the Empire did it with the Death Star, with the TIE fighters, all that kind of stuff. But like, how did the rebellion, who had no money, we see Mon Mothma struggling with it in season 1. So it's like, but how did they amass this large battalion of like weaponry and ships and all that stuff? So I kind of hope this season 2 kind of shows more of that.
I would say like for what I would like to see is how like this whole like rebel spy network like was put into place. Like you were talking about like weapons and stuff, but how like operations would work. Another thing is obviously I'm a massive like dark side Empire kind of guy. Is how the Death Star like plans actually got in the position that it was, like how it was developed or what was the plans of going forward. Because we usually just see like, hey, here's the star, right? I want to see like the beginning of that. So we see like what. If I remember right in the trailer, it looked like it was in construction, or was it already built?
Yeah,
it was in construction.
We're seeing some construction happening in it, and then in Rogue One they go for the plans. But I would like to see, to add to what you're saying, there is the intention to make a weak spot in the Death Star so that the rebellion has a chance, because that shaft that goes to the center of it that blows the whole damn thing up, that has to be implemented, on purpose. Like that's something that the architects like. I got an idea to help screw over these people.
This is one of my favorite scenes in How I Met Your Mother. It's like Ted and I think it's Barney or Marshall. They're arguing about like someone had to intentionally put that in there. They're like, no, it was poor planning. So there's like this whole argument that breaks out. But like, yeah, maybe they will explain it in a weird backdoor way in Andor, which I'm all for. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. I would love to see a larger plan in place for the Empire and the Death Star, because I think the Death Star doesn't make sense on its own. Like, okay, you're going to travel from planet to planet, threaten them, blow up a couple of them, yada, yada, yada. But if you were to make an armada of them, that makes more sense to me, especially as a Star Trek fan in the Borg. It's same thing. And so we see that the second Death Star is, in construction for the third movie. I want to see that there were many planned. And so then it shows some urgency to the original trilogy of like, oh, we have to destroy this first completed one because there's a good 40 that are on the docket to be made after these ones. And so if we don't show them that these are not a good idea, they'll keep making them. And then when that all falls apart and the Empire has collapsed, and then all of a sudden you just have the remnants and the First Order starting to happen, you can see that there was already so much manufacturing going on in the world that, yeah, if the rebels took out the Emperor, who cares? There's all kinds of factories currently making Death Stars that now are going to shift to protecting themselves. And it kind of makes sense that like it's a full factory machine working on a bunch of different things. I don't know. There's something there to where I'm like, it doesn't make sense to make one Death Star. You should have been making a bunch of them to really be an actual force.
Yeah. Somewhere they do kind of mention it though, where they talk about the money. So the reason why I think there's like they are trying to make more, I think, because don't they blow up another one in another star? We should probably know this. I should probably know this.
The third one, they blow up the second Death Star.
So I think it's either in Andor or something else. They talk about how much it costs. And like, that's the other thing that Andor kind of gets into the minutia of it. It's like, we don't think about them collecting taxes or money, or even like Skeleton Crew kind of talks about it a little bit, it was like, wait, you had all these old credits here? Like who's still minting these things? So like we didn't, it's kind of boring in a sense too, but it is kind of interesting to think about like, how would you build a whole planet that's actually just a weapon? So but I agree with you. I think there probably is more plans though to make a bunch of them.
Because in the First Order, they had that big weapon as well. So it almost feels like the First Order one was something that they like, oh, it's the Death Star 2.0. We're in development of that, but it's so far out that that's when the First Order, because otherwise, like, how did you guys do that without anybody noticing, So there's a lot of holes that could definitely be filled in by this. And anytime that they try to improve the newer trilogy, I'm always on board with that. That's what the Bad Batch did a great job with that, explaining the whole process.
Yep.
All right, guys. So yeah, we're going to be covering every single episode of Andor. I know me and Thomas are going to be busy over on Challenge Accepted. So please join us. And then we'll cover the premiere and the finale over here on Geek Freaks as well. So stay tuned with us, guys. Let's head over to our interview with Rich Davis, the writer for Angel Hunter. Today, I'm joined by Rich Davis of Angel Hunter, a brand new book coming out soon. How are you doing, Rich?
Man, I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Of course. Can you, before we get too far, tell us a little bit about Angel Hunter?
Yeah, so Angel Hunter is a seinen manga-inspired dark fantasy set told in the American comic book style. It's about humanity's first strides after being expelled from Eden. They have to claw out an existence in a world dominated by the 13 fallen angels and an army of kaiju Nephilim.
Yes, that immediately tells you like late 2000s awesome gritty movie that I'm like can't wait to watch. It sounds great. Kaiju Nephilim, those two words next to each other. Okay, I'm in. Yep. Where did this idea spark in you? How did you get this idea?
So it actually started as kind of a joke. I just finished up issue 2 of Reign of Dracula. And prior to that, just a few weeks before that, I had finished up Prometheus in Chains. And Prometheus took everything out of me, man. It was the most difficult thing that I've ever written. I mean, it just wiped me out. And then trying to jump into Reign of Dracula, getting back into that horror world, I just had a hard time doing it. I just didn't want to finish the book. And so I did what I normally do. I just wrote something else. And I'd been watching the show called Goblin Slayer on Crunchyroll. And so I had this idea, and I did it like I don't know, 2 in the morning, laying in bed, just typing it on my phone. And I was like, I'm going to tell this little short story. It's going to be like 8 pages. And it's about these 4 heroes with no names going into this cave and defeating the demon lord Moloch.
Mhm.
And, it was just fun and silly and stupid and violent. And it was so much fun that, I decided to do more with it. I sent it over to Les and I was like, what do you think? What do you think about this? And he was like, I think we need to do something with it. He's like, you got a
Yeah.
book here. And I was like, okay, we got a book. Let's do this. And yeah, so from there, man, it just kind of took off. The doing it in the manga style with that style of art. Les fought me like hell on that in the
Really?
beginning.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I love Les. We're like brothers, man. We fight like hell, but we work very, very well together.
Yeah.
And so, but Les didn't want to do the manga thing because he had it in his mind that anime and manga were Dragon Ball Z. That's it. There's
Oh, I
nothing
see.
else. And so I was like, dude, here, check out Berserk. Check out Attack on Titan. Check out Battle Angel Alita. Check out all of these other really rad. I'm sorry, is my dog coming through?
It is, but don't worry about it. We'll address it. Now that we said it out loud, people know that it's not their minds. We're good.
Let me shut dog. So Dobby is this new dog that we have, and my girlfriend Tiffany was going to Kroger, and this homeless guy came up and shoved Dobby in her window. He
Oh,
was like,
wow.
and Tiffany's like, what? So we took the dog, and she gave the guy $10, and now we've got a new dog. His name's Dobby, and he's cute, but when he's not getting attention, he whines.
I understand. This is my dog's house. I just pay all the bills. Yeah, so
Oh,
I
exactly.
totally get
That's
that.
what I do, man. It's like can I sleep on that little bed in the corner?
Yeah.
Because they take up my bed. I mean,
Oh,
they
it's
just
crazy.
there and they're like,
Doesn't matter the size of the dog, too. By the end of the day, end of the night, they have most of
right,
the bed.
the little ones take up more room than the big ones
Yes,
somehow.
they
I don't
do.
know how that happens.
So let's return back to your story here. I would like to touch into the fact that you started off in theater and then you made that transition into comics, and now you're transitioning into like a new form of comics. Why make that move in medium? And what are some of the benefits to moving that way?
Yeah, so my background is in playwriting and screenwriting. And so my very first comic was Cult of Dracula.
Mhm.
And it began as a stage play in Wilmington, North Carolina. It was at the time it's called Dracula Reimagined. It was nominated for a bunch of North Carolina Theater Awards. It won several. And I had the very large privilege of having someone who had become a very dear friend of mine, Tony Todd. He played Candyman,
Right, of
obviously.
course.
He happened to be in the audience one night. He was in town filming something at Screen Gem Studios, and he hung out after the show. And he was like, Rich, I really like this show. You've got something. You've got something here.
Mhm.
And he said, you should do something. And so I decided that I was going to try to adapt it into a micro budget film. Something that we would film on $1 million or less.
Right.
And we did that. I wrote the screenplay, and it was so my wife got sick with kidney disease, and she ultimately
Okay.
passed away in 2020. So while I was working on that screenplay, when she got sick, I was like, I can't do this. So I actually threw it away. I threw Cult of Dracula away, threw it in the trash. And
Mm.
Amber got so pissed at me, man. I don't think she's ever yelled at me the way that she yelled at me over that. And luckily, she had a PDF of it, and so she gave it back to me. And she was like, "Look, I get it. We can't make a film. We don't have the time. We don't have the resources. We got to worry about me right now.
Right.
Why don't you try to turn it into a comic book?" And I was like, that could work, because writing a comic book script is very, very similar to writing a screenplay. So, I mean, they're with a screenplay, you're writing for your director or photographer and for him or her to interpret the shots.
Right.
And when you're writing a comic book script, you're writing for your illustrator, and you want them to lay out the shots basically.
Right.
So it really, my skill set really just kind of flowed from one to the other. And so Cult of Dracula came out of the gate, it sold well in excess of
That's a hit right there.
100,000.
That's a huge one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I was like, well, heck, let's do this again,
Mhm.
and let's do this again, and let's do this again. And they just keep letting me do it. So,
Yeah.
I'm here until they kick me out.
Well, it's the storytelling, it's the way you team up with Les on these great, projects that you have. And yeah, people are endearing to it. They find a lot of joy in there. Now you're working with a friend of ours, Joey from Geek Collective, and he talks about your character Shori. Can you tell us a little bit about Shori?
Okay, so it's a Shimajo. It's a little
I
hard to.
He said it wrong. I want to put that out there first. I got it from him.
Yeah. So it's Shiroi Majo. She is known as the White Witch of Edessa, and she is the only known survivor of the Third War of the Fallen, and that was the war that defeated Moloch and prevented him from raising the Prince of the Fallen. So she has now become the high priestess to the Radiant God. And she exists in a city called Lycidia. It's the only city that humanity has managed to put together. Everyone else lives out in these little villages or nomadic trains. Humanity really doesn't have a strong footing in this world except for Lycidia,
Mhm.
and it's protected by Shiroi Majo. Now, Shiroi Majo has I can't call it a dark secret, but
Okay.
it's a heavy, heavy secret that she has to bear. And I would love to tell you what that secret is right now, but I worry that it's going to spoil quite a bit of volume 2 of the book.
Okay.
It doesn't come into play in volume 1, but if you look at her and if you pay attention to her story in the book, you're gonna get it,
Okay.
and and it's going to pay off for you in volume 2. But her secret is very, very, very relevant and very compelling, and it makes her quite a tragic character. She's the big character that we've been pushing in all of our advertising.
Yes.
Part of it is she's an amazing freaking character, and then the other part of it is it's a hot blonde anime chick, and so it's eyeballs.
Yeah, well, the way she holds herself, the way she dresses too, she tells you like, "Hey, I am what you probably expect out of an angel," and then like almost like that archangel style, right? And then so you're like, "Okay, let me explore more," and then you hear about the Niphilims and stuff like that, and this the kaiju. So then it's a good gateway into the story, really into the world.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And she's been a really fun character to write and to conceive. In the beginning, she was really the only fleshed out character that I had
Yeah.
when Les and I first started talking, and everybody else, they were very loose concepts. I mean, their names changed like 50 different times because I couldn't decide who they were.
Hmm.
I was having all these conversations with them, but they weren't telling me who they are. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you're a writer, you probably get it. Like I legitimately have conversations with my characters. And I've had artists before, they'll ask me, Les has done this and it drives him crazy. He'll be like, okay, so what's gonna happen when this person gets down here? I'm like, I don't know. They haven't told me yet.
Yeah.
you know. So I operate off these loose outlines. Like I've got Angel Hunter mapped out in an outline all the way through volume 10.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ambitious. And the outline's going to change. It always does,
Hmm.
but at least you've got the foundation of it. But yeah, Shiro Majo for a while was probably the most developed character, and now the others have caught up, and Les has his favorites, I have my favorites, and so they're coming together to tell a really incredible story. Les and I both, we feel the same way about Angel Hunter. We feel like we've got something special. I have the same feeling about Angel Hunter that I had about Cult of Dracula. And I think that we've got something that's got legs that people are really going to relate to. It's going to be a very entertaining story. And as an intellectual property, there's a lot of potential for this to grow outside of just a comic book.
Yeah. And in my shock and you saying volume 10, I want to make sure to let everybody know this first one that's coming out, 96 pages, and then 120 pages for the ones following that. You are not releasing these in these small floppies. This is going to be complete stories people are going to be getting. They're going to be diving right into it. And frankly, at my age of a comic book reader, I like those now. I'm kind of into the bigger trays. I don't want to get, stuck. So I do appreciate that. How does that, why do that instead of doing the smaller floppy version?
So I also own a comic book store. So
Oh,
I get
that's
I get
awesome.
to look at this. I get to look at this from many different angles. As a comic book fan, a comic book retailer, and a comic book writer, I get to see it from all different angles. And there's a lot of people that are going to cringe when I say this right now, but it is absolutely gospel truth. Floppies are dead. It is impossible to get people to buy independent genre floppies right now. They're going to
Specifically
show up.
independent, I think is even harder, not to interrupt you, but I feel like people need to take those chances. And it's, for some reason, it's hard for them to take chances because now I'm going on a bit of a rant because I deal with a lot of indie comic book writers, but some of the readers are like, I don't know if I could invest that much time into you yet because you might not make it to issue 5. That's why it's
Right.
nice to see that you have 10 volumes planned out, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like people will come in, they're going to buy their issue of Batman, their issue of Spider-Man, their
Right.
issue of, they're going to buy it faithfully, religiously. They're addicted to it. But trying to get them to pick up a new #1 horror book or a sci-fi book or a fantasy book. I mean, heck, even things that like Garth Ennis and Cullen Bunn write, Donny Cates, it's hard to get people to pick them up in floppy.
Mhm.
But when I put a $9.99 Image Volume 1 trade paperback in their hands, they grab 3.
Yeah.
And they love it. The genre books just make more sense in a collected edition. So that's one reason. One of the other reasons is that we're paying respect to the manga genre,
Mhm.
and manga comes out in digest, thick, essentially graphic novels. So
Yeah.
we are doing Angel Hunter in the digest size. So it's going to look just like a manga. We are going to, as a stretch goal, we're going to reproduce it in the larger comic book format as well.
Okay.
But the main book's going to come out. It's going to look a lot like a manga. You're going to read it standard left to right,
Yeah.
because that's a little confusing for American audiences, and we thought it would cut us off from a large demographic if we did it from back to front. And also Les was like, I don't really think I could tell a story backward. And I was like, well, dude, then don't do it.
Thinking about the industry as a whole, as a comic book store owner, you probably are seeing this now, where Marvel and DC are starting to make like the smaller actual size of their bigger collections, because I think that's just kind of where the market is going in general. So I think this is going to be a success. I just feel that this is going to be really good.
I sure hope so, man. Les and I both put a lot of hard work into this book. And again, Les's art is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
He loves my story. We create this together. Les and I, again, we're like brothers.
Yeah.
We work together. Les has worked on every book that I've ever written in some shape, form, or fashion. We just get along. And, well, we get along when we're not arguing. But, that's what brothers do. You fight.
Yeah.
And but it's always because we're passionate about this story. And I think that really comes across. We're not just, Les isn't just doing this as a work for hire because I'm paying him. His heart's in this, and my heart's in this. So I really hope that translates to the readers and they feel about it the way that we do.
Yeah. I want to make sure everybody heads over to the Kickstarter page now. It's going to be in the description now, and look at Les's work. We have preview pages up, and the amount of effort on every single page. Les wouldn't do this for a commission. He would do this if he has actual heart in this, and you could see it. It is gorgeous. I cannot wait to explore this world that you're creating. Rich, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, we are back. Let's close things out with some network news. So over on Phantom Portals, he's got Marvel Month going on, Aaron and Basher, and they're doing a giveaway. So check out their social media, guys. You can be winning some stuff, some movie tickets. Anime Plus is doing an interview with one of their friends that went to Japan, talking about that, Japan and anime and manga and that culture that's over there. It's a 2-part series. Over on Challenge Accepted, we're doing Detective Pikachu, Andor, Daredevil, and The Last of Us. It's exhausting just typing that out. And then Outlast Podcast. So we have a member on the Survivor cast right now that's from Sacramento, and his name's Joe, and he's absolutely cool. So he did one watch party at Sacramento, and he's doing another one this week. And unfortunately, didn't know about the first one. I'm going to be going to doing camping this week, so I won't be able to go this. So I'm hoping he does next week. But if you're in the Sacramento area, Joe, everybody's favorite Survivor this season, is doing watch parties in downtown Sacramento. So go check that out, guys. That's freaking awesome. Yes. And then Distance Nerding is talking about CinemaCon, and they do live episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. So Feel free to check that out too. And then we have a brand new website because I've, just put more things on my
Bling
plate.
bling.
Yes, I think it's a little bit more easier to navigate and it's easier to find your favorite podcast on there. So go and check that out, guys. gfpods.com or any other version of that you could think of. It's there. Let's go to our recommendations of the week. Thomas, let's start with you. What is your recommendation for the week?
Yeah, come join us over on Challenge Accepted. Seriously, I want to hear what people think. I'm so excited about this Daredevil finale. First and foremost,
so good.
It feels like it flew by for us. They took some interesting turns. I think it is by far one of the better Disney Plus Marvel shows that they've come out with. We know that we're getting a season 2, so I'm very curious to see how they wrap it up. But I've also heard rumors that there's somebody from the MCU that's a different hero that's going to be in the finale. So I'm excited to see if that comes true. Oh, God. Okay, maybe not that. Then I might not make it as good as I want to be. But on the flip side, kind of like finally got around to this movie. Oh, two things. Okay, I finally saw Royal Pain. Highly recommend it for everybody out there. It's what Kieran Culkin won an Oscar for, written by the guy who played Lex Luthor from Batman v Superman, Jesse Eisenberg. There it is. Really, really freaking good. About two cousins that go on a trip together. Very emotional, very funny, very dark. Just so good. So yeah, definitely check that out. And then the last one, I'm curious for everybody out there, if you've watched the Devil May Cry series, what did you think about it? Because I'll just quickly say I really liked how it started. Man, if you're like us and you were kind of, in high school or college age around the early 2000s, the soundtrack is incredible. And some of the fights with the songs with like Papa Roach and like System of a Down and stuff is so good. But I don't know. I feel like it kind of loses a little bit of steam in the middle of the show. And then it has a pretty nice finale, but I think it just starts off super strong. So I'm just curious what everybody else thinks about it out there.
System of a Down, man. That's my high school right there. Holy
dude, you'll love the soundtrack. It is fire.
Yeah,
I love the games, the earlier games too. So I need to check that out. Sure. Squeaks, what about you?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys saw it, but I just saw it literally right before I got on this podcast, and my recommendation is because I saw this thing. So, did anybody see the photo of Jason Momoa as Lobo on a motorcycle?
Oh yeah.
What the fuck? Are we not talking about this? Man. Oh man, it's pretty far. I mean, it seems like someone
it's a
snuck
sneak,
it. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, it's not. It's not supposed to be going
breaking
around,
out here right now. The Greek Fix podcast.
yeah.
So anyway, my record. I know Frank's like sweating right now. I gotta fucking type this as fast as I can.
I'm googling it.
Keyboard getting sweaty. But I brought this up because it's been a long time since I read anything Lobo. And so I started picking up Superman versus Lobo. I don't know if it's one of the greatest stories that I've ever read before in any comic book, but if you really want to know something about Lobo before like Lobo actually pops up on what I think he's going to be featured in the Supergirl movie or whatever, to like know his strength, right? And I was like, why not start with him fighting the strongest man in the DC universe? So I would say Superman versus Lobo. Check that out and get yourself prepped before we see the Lobo on screen.
Don't look it up, guys, because it's just straight up Lobo. I mean, he is straight up Lobo. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, it's wild because like here we are, like he's been saying he's wanted to be this character, Jason Momoa, for years and years, like maybe 10 years now. And then it's crazy that we live in a world where like that could happen. Like if you just, if you're famous enough and you hang on, like you can become that character. Yeah. It's pretty wild. I'm so pumped about it. He's got another show coming out on Chief of War. Like I'm a massive Jason Momoa fan. Just being from Hawaii. So like anything that dude's in, I'm gonna support it.
Yeah.
Putting it out right now, Kevin, listen to me. I'm your Beta Ray Bill. We got CGI. You can make me look like Beta Ray Bill.
There you go.
Let me voice act Beta Ray Bill. I'll mocap his face. That's awesome. Probably the one part of him that you don't want to mocap, the horse part. Yes, please let me be Beta Ray Bill. Okay. My recommendation for the week is going to be, it's out on Wednesday, guys, a new comic book called Summer of Superman Special #1. It's a very large episode or issue. This is going to be, they're saying that this is going to be affecting how all future Superman comic books go forward. And so it's kind of like a new turning point for Superman. It is one of the more bright and hopeful versions of Superman, looking at the comic book so far, which I think is all in line with the movie coming up. So if you're ready for the movie, the vibe, the all-star Superman vibe, I think this is one for you guys. I'll read the little bio for it. When John Henry Irons and Lana Lang take their vows, everyone turns up for the big day. but trouble is brewing on the horizon, and as threats from the past, present, and future kick off major new conflicts for Superman's family. So check that out, guys. Again, it's called Summer of Superman Special #1 in your comic book shop this Wednesday. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next Geek News podcast. Bye.
Oh, wow.